started. So today we will be on for about 45 minutes to an hour. Stay to the end because that's when we will do all of our questions. You're welcome to ask questions throughout this and put them in the chat or raise your hands, but we'll go in depth at the end. And we can also talk about how to specifically apply these 6 essential steps to your unique journey and your unique goals. So we'll have plenty of time for questions, so stay to the end for that. I will also have for you guys a downloadable PDF that I will be putting in the chat in just a minute. So once we get to the 6 essential steps, I'll put it in there. It has all the information on it, but I don't want you to get distracted with it in the beginning. So I will be giving you guys that in a few minutes. If you don't already have a pen and paper out or a way to take notes, I'd recommend getting something out now because we know from science that writing things down helps us integrate things in our brain more and helps us remember it more, recall it more. So I always recommend writing things down, taking notes when you can, so you can take this learning and actually apply it this week. My goal for you with this workshop is really to be able to not just listen along and get some information, but really to have actionable tips that you can start to implement today. So did you know that binge eating was not actually recognized as a mental health disorder until 2013? Now, why this is really interesting is because it's actually pretty fairly new then, right? That's only been recognized for about 10 years. Of course, people have been struggling with binge eating for much longer than 10 years. What this means is that there's actually a lot of misinformation out there about what binge eating is and how to solve it. And a lot of medical professionals are still not well versed and oftentimes confused about binge eating. I have my clients who will come to me after 10 years of therapy because their therapist wasn't quite sure exactly how to solve it. Or they go to their doctor and they ask, hey, I'm feeling really out of control around food. I'm not sure what's going on. And the doctor doesn't really know what's going on either. So if you haven't felt heard or validated or understood in your struggles, that's normal, unfortunately, because it takes a while for the modern neuroscience and psychology and research to get down to the everyday knowledge. It takes a minute for it to be taught in the universities, to the therapists, to the doctors. So that's why it's important to make sure we are looking for information outside of just what's given to us by doctors and things, because it is so new of information. So what you will learn today is why past eating advice hasn't worked. So why have you been trying things and maybe you make a little progress for a couple weeks, but then you fall back down. And if you're here today, you've probably been trying some things, but nothing has fully stuck. You haven't got to where you want to be with your eating goals yet. And then you're going to learn 6 actionable tips that you can start implementing today, as well as the step-by-step pathway to food freedom. And when you do this, when you can find food freedom, it will give you back time, energy, and money, which is why it's so important. So why it can save you time. It is time consuming to spend all of our energy thinking about food. If you're anything like I was, I spent like 80% of my day thinking about what I was going to eat, what's for my next snack, what's going to be for lunch, how many calories were in it. Oh no, I had a binge. How am I going to recover from this binge? Having a lot of anxiety. What's going to be at dinner? Am I going to be able to order something at the restaurant that's within my goals? It was a lot of time and energy spent in my brain. And I was really confused too on what's the right approach to changing this and getting to my goals as a natural eater. I remember I once got to page 50 of Google on how to stop binge eating. And maybe you've looked how to stop overeating, how to eat normally, and you just keep scrolling the Google pages and not getting anywhere with the information. And time is ultimately our most valuable resource. It's something that we can't get more of. So we want to make sure we're using our time in our life valuably and doing things that actually matter to us. Then, of course, we're overeating, that can drain our energy, both mentally and physically. So after we overeat, it taxes our body. It taxes our body's systems, and having to process all this extra food that it doesn't need is hard for us. And then, of course, we have the mental consequences where we're feeling guilty and stressed because we just ate that food or we just had a binge. And so when you have a step-by-step direct path, it's going to make it so much easier, and you will be able to stop doing the things that you might be doing right now that aren't actually making a big impact on your eating habits. And then finally, with money, we might not think about this one so much, but overeating actually costs us a lot when you are eating all of your kids' snacks. Like kids' snacks are expensive, they are not cheap. If you are ordering out extra food, if you are overeating at restaurants. Now, as a natural eater, I almost always have leftovers from restaurants and I get 2 to 3 meals out of every time I go out to eat. So I save a lot of money on food versus overeating at the restaurant and then not having those leftovers. I've had clients who have cut their food bills in half in groceries and going out to eat and door dashing food. But in addition to that, when we overeat, we might not be as productive at work. So when you are thinking about food all day, stressed about food, you're probably not showing up to your other dreams and goals the way you want to. And so that can impact our ability to excel in our career. I would also spend lots of extra money on clothes and spray tans to try to hide my body and make myself feel good about myself. But ultimately, I was just putting down money down the drain because I was continuing to gain weight. I kept not fitting in my clothes. So I was just wasting more money on shopping when really what I needed to do was address my mindset on why I wasn't feeling confident in the first place. So if you don't know who I am, hello, I'm Amber Avila. I also go by The Confident Eater. I have a podcast called Become a Confident Eater, a free Facebook group, Become a Confident Eater. So anywhere you find me on Instagram, The Confident Eater. And I had started this because I knew what was most important to me is I wanted to feel confident around food. That's how I always described it, is I just want to feel normal and confident around eating. I am a recovered binge eater, bulimic, disordered eater, body hater. I really have covered all of the spectrums of things I've struggled with. So there's nothing anyone says to me that surprised me. I've struggled a lot with overeating and binge eating, but it's a fine line. I help people with both because sometimes I would start restricting a little and then I'd have a full binge eating thousands of calories. But then sometimes I would just overeat and it would just be on a cookie or so. So there's really, I help people in all the spectrums, but really focusing with binge eating and overeating. I normally live in Denver, Colorado, as I mentioned, but I'm here in beautiful Puerto Escondido, Mexico, and I love to travel. And none of the travel would be possible for me if I hadn't found this food freedom that allows me to travel with ease. I was just in Mexico City and I am working on my Spanish. It is not great. And so I couldn't understand like 80% of the menus. And that would have stressed me out so much before, not being able to know like what I was getting, what are the calories in it, and if I could eat it, how it would fit into my plan for the day. But when you have that food freedom, it becomes much easier to do those things. But I wasn't always this way. When I was binge eating, I had gained over 25 pounds. I was feeling really insecure in myself. It happened really quickly. And I really tried everything. I first started trying therapy, and you can put in the chat if these are any of the things you've struggled with as well, any of the things that you've tried that either have worked for you or not worked for you. But the first thing I tried is therapy, and this is where most people go if they want to take a like mental health approach to solving this, which is great. And therapy is amazing for so many things. This is definitely not me shaming therapy, but I found for a lot of people it doesn't work for binge eating because we're too much focused on the past. We focus on our childhood in therapy and how maybe the binge eating started. But if you didn't have a big trauma or something that went on that contributed to the binge eating, if you were just dieting, then a lot of times we're just replaying stories that aren't going to help us with our present day goals. So we need to look at where we are now and where we want to go in order to get there. Then I tried counting calories and macros. So I was obsessed with my fitness pal. I was so scared to trust my body. And counting calories can feel a lot like control. It can feel like we're in charge, right? Like, okay, I have this plan. I just have to follow it. Now, even if you followed your calorie count perfectly and you were also listening to your hunger and fullness and you didn't feel anxiety if you didn't use it, it's still probably not something you'd want to do forever. And most of the time, I wasn't even sticking to my calorie count. I was still having the binges at night because the information alone on how many calories I was supposed to be having wasn't enough to actually make me do it. Yeah, I tried a lot as well. Consistency and sustainability is always the issue. Totally. So then I tried going sugar-free because I thought, okay, clearly sugar is the problem here. I'm overeating on sugar. I am always scared around sugar because that's the thing that is like my go-to binge food is anything with sugar in it. Now, I learned because I wasn't working on my mindset and my urges around food, I still wanted to binge, but now I started binge eating on chips and pizza and other things, and I was still gaining weight. And then I tried intermittent fasting. But the truth is, you can still binge eat in the 6 hours that you're not fasting. You can still have that happen there. Then I found weight loss coaching. So this is when I started entering the coaching world a bit. And of course, when we are binge eating, a lot of times we have weight gain happening. So the first thing we think about is, I want to lose weight. Now, this is actually not a great approach to take because it can keep us stuck in the diet culture thoughts that are putting us into all or nothing and saying, all right, I'm either on track or off track, which can make the binge eating worse. So even though I was doing this weight loss coaching program and I learned a lot of amazing tools, I was still gaining weight. I eventually stopped the weight gain and was able to maintain it. But I didn't start losing weight until I started healing my entire relationship with food and letting go of the weight loss goal, which is ironic because we think I need to really focus and try hard with weight loss in order to get there. But it was actually once I let it go that it happened because I wasn't so attached to this result. And then finally, I tried intuitive eating. So then I went to the far other side and said, okay, let's just bring in all the foods into the house and I'm going to give myself full permission to eat them. I'm going to fully stop restricting and I'm just going to eat it all. And then that totally brought me back into weight gain mode. And then I was going crazy again. And I felt even more out of control because I wasn't ready to bring those foods into the house yet. I wasn't ready to try to conquer them because I didn't have a step-by-step process. It was just advice I'd seen on Instagram, but it didn't really work because I didn't know what I was doing with it. So ultimately, nothing worked for me until I started learning about the psychology of habits and how to rewire my brain. Because I view all of our eating issues as habits. That's all they are, is you've done these things over and over again for 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years. And so your brain has learned you probably want to do it. It's trying to help you by giving these strong urges, this desire for food, because it just thinks since you've always done it, you must want to continue to do it. So that's really what I started addressing is, how did these habits form in my brain in the first place and how can I rewire them? So I got certified in coaching the unconscious, which is basically where I learned the latest neuroscience techniques on how we change and how to coach these unconscious parts of our brain that keep us stuck. If you've ever said before, I know what to do, but I'm just not doing it, or I try to do this thing and then I get stuck, that is because you're having an unconscious block in your brain. Knowledge is all informational, right? Knowledge is just going into our brain. But until it resonates with your unconscious brain, nothing's going to change. And that's what we do in coaching. In coaching, we're able to get to those deeper layers. So I used a blend of techniques that finally worked for me, which include cognitive behavioral therapy and thought work. This is looking at how your thoughts, feelings, and actions are all related. It really works on the emotional part of it and how to sit with your emotions. I learned about positive psychology, focusing on how we can grow and change and not just what's wrong with us and why are we so stuck. Relaxation techniques to calm our nervous system so we don't panic every time we get an urge for food. I also started using hypnosis to access parts of my unconscious brain that we can't access on our day-to-day while we're wide awake and logically thinking. And of course, I started having the essential knowledge of how to eat like a natural eater. Knowledge is still important. It's not something that we don't need. We do need information at times, but it's not the only piece of the puzzle. Now, all of these techniques are ones that are used by CEOs, executives, athletes, really successful people to change their brain fast. So maybe you've been trying Googling how to stop binge eating, how to eat normally, all of these things, only to realize you're probably already doing all the things that Google suggests. It tells you, well, drink more water, eat your protein, get in more fiber, call your friends, take a bubble bath, go for a walk. Like these are all the classic suggestions you're going to get. But my guess is you're probably already doing those things. Most of my clients actually eat like pretty healthy during the day. And then it's just when they get these urges that it overcomes them and then they go the other way. Maybe you've been trying Instagram advice only to be told to just eat more. You just need to stop restricting. You're clearly not eating enough, just start eating more. But maybe you truly already are eating enough. Maybe you've really stopped restricting and you are confused on why you're still binge eating. Or you're told to cut the foods out, just don't keep them in the house. But guess what? These foods still exist everywhere else in your life. So then you're going to go to a wedding and there'll be cake there and you'll have to learn how to eat it in moderation. Or you'll go to a birthday party and you aren't hungry and you need to be able to say no to the cake when you don't want it. And you can only learn those skills by teaching yourself how to be around this food, not just by cutting it out and eliminating it altogether. Maybe you've tried reading self-help books, only to never get past page 27 and leave it gathering dust on your bookshelf, right? Maybe you're like, okay, this book, it will solve everything for me. If I just listen to this podcast, it will solve everything. Again, this is just information. And even if we had all the information on the world on how to stop binge eating, until you start implementing that information, nothing will change. So what's missing here is it's just a jumble of random tips with no proven structure. You're learning the intro to it, the basics, and the intricate stuff all mixed together. You're learning the step 10 of how to stop binge eating along with the step 1 and the step 6. And you need to figure out where you are in your unique journey in order to find what advice is going to actually appeal to you. Has anyone ever tried to learn a new language or instrument before, or has learned a new language or instrument? You might try at first, like, oh, let me just YouTube a few things. Let me just Google some things. But you'll soon learn that they're just a random collection of videos and you end up confused, not making any progress, just wasting your time. This happened to me over COVID. I tried to learn the guitar. We had a guitar sitting around at home and I thought, let's just learn how to play it as if it'd be that simple. And I started YouTubing videos and I quickly got very overwhelmed by the process of learning to play guitar. It was not as simple as I thought. So what you do instead is you're like, okay, if I want to learn a new language, let's download Duolingo or hire a teacher so they can take me through the exact steps. I'm now learning piano. I'm going through my instrument phase and technically Spanish too now that I'm in Mexico, although I'm taking more of the random approach and it's not going so well. I don't have a Spanish teacher. I'm just doing my best. But I'm learning piano through this app called Simply Piano, and it takes me through exact little lessons to teach me how to play piano. So that's really why I want to give you the steps that I took today so you can see what are steps 1 through 6 that you're going to get today on how to stop binge eating. So I'm going to get you our PDF now so you can have the signature 6-step process. So let me grab it for you guys real quick to put it in the chat. Okay. I have so many things labeled 6 essential steps in my folder. Let me get it real quick. It's a downloads here. Okay, let me see if I can put it in the chat. There it goes. Okay, so it's sending right now. And you should be able to click on it. It's your downloadable PDF. So I'll follow this around with you guys too, and I can show you, I'll share the PDF on my screen so we can go over it together as we go through these next 6 steps. So the first step is we need to manage our thoughts and emotions. So we're going to go over why these steps are important and then how to implement them. So we want to manage our thoughts and emotions because this is how we stop emotional eating. So if you find yourself at the end of a long day, feeling really stressed out and just needing a break and wanting to relax, that's emotional eating. If you find yourself bored at work and you're telling yourself, oh my gosh, I need a break, I need something to do, and then you go eat, that's emotional eating. So when we can stop emotional eating, that's going to help us improve our mental well-being because we become someone who's in charge of their emotional state. So imagine if you could just choose how you want to feel and feel it at any time. That's what learning how to manage your thoughts and emotions will help you do. Okay, so can everyone get the PDF okay? Let me know if anyone's having trouble with it. Good. Thanks for the thumbs up. I think I'm going to keep my screen shared on the slides just so I don't have to switch back and forth, but I'll be reading it out. I'll read out the instructions from the worksheet. And then you can either write directly on the worksheet, this is all your copy of it, or you can write this down pen and paper. So the first thing we want to think about is what's one emotion you commonly eat from? So again, this is on the PDF worksheet. What's one emotion you commonly eat from? You can take a minute to write it down, write it in the chat if you want to share. And then also when you specifically feel this emotion. Is it after work? Is it right when you see your kids come home from school? Is it when your boss walks in the room? And then once you've identified the emotion and where you specifically feel it, then we're going to go through a technique. It says at the bottom, imagine this moment, and then we start taking long, slow, deep breaths through our nose, and then we make our exhale twice as long. And this takes you out of fight or flight mode and brings back your control. So I highlighted or bolded, capitalized the word specifically when you feel this emotion, because this is important. When you find the specific moment where you feel this emotion and you want to go to food, we are lighting up the neural pathway in your brain. And when it has to be specific, you can't just be, oh, I want to eat when I'm bored and it happens all the time. That's not going to light up your neural network. We need to say, oh, specifically when I sit down at my desk, I open up my laptop, I feel overwhelmed. In that moment, I want you to imagine that specific moment. And then we take some slow, deep breaths in through our nose and out twice as long. That is retraining your brain in that moment that when you have that emotion come up, you can pause and do something different. So we're basically giving your brain a new plan. So it's imagining the situation and connecting it with deep breaths. So the next time it happens, something happens, and you imagine taking that deep breath. And that's going to get you into this more regulated nervous system state, which makes it easier to access your logical brain and your thoughts around food so you can give yourself the awesome reminders that you don't want to overeat, that you don't want to binge, that you want to get through this without extra food. All right, so let's go to our next one. So our second step is mastering moderation. This is what will allow you to have just one of these foods or one serving of it, or however much you want and move on. Some days, all we need is like a bite of chocolate. Some days we might want two fresh baked cookies. There's no complete definition of what moderation is. It's something for you to define. But again, all of these foods are going to be in our life. We're going to encounter cookies at Christmas time, or some desserts. Like Christmas is coming, the holidays are coming, whatever you celebrate. And so we want to make sure we know things in moderation. So we want to make sure we eliminate that food stress and we're able to bring any food into our house without anxiety. So on our worksheet here on our PDF, we're going to want to plate all of our food together. This is my tip for you. So when your brain is able to see the carrots and a cookie side by side, two of these foods, it starts to neutralize them. It stops seeing the cookies as special as a reward and instead looks at it as just food. And this helps us be more mindful while we're eating these triggering foods, because let's be honest, most of our trigger foods we eat zoned out unintentionally. PDF is a copy of slideshow. Oh, thank you for letting me know. You are right. Let me find the right one because it's different than the slideshow. Okay, file. Thank you guys for being patient. All right, let me get it downloaded one more time here. File download. Okay, there it goes. This should be the right one. We'll give it a minute to send. And let me know if you get that one okay. Yeah, that should be the right one. So again, for this one, more of a tip that you can implement today is starting to put all this food together. Don't have it as I have to eat my good food and then I get the dessert. You can have it plated all together, and that's going to start to train your brain that all these foods are neutral, that they're all equal morality wise. Now, of course, cookies and carrots are not the same nutritionally, but when we can take the good, bad labels away from them, that's when we're able to stop the all or nothing thinking. Okay, so our third step is to start allowing our urges. When we can allow our urges, this is a core skill of rewiring your brain. This is going to get you out of the survival brain mode and help you start to build your life around your higher self. So, what our urges are and where they come from is one day you overate or you binged and your brain got the reward of food. And then the next time you were around that food, your brain said, hey, you used to binge on this. You've binged on this before. Do you want to do it again? And then you said yes, and you ate. And so we continue to reinforce this habit, which is why your brain keeps giving us urges for it. So, in order to help sit with our urges on the worksheet, our prompt for this is thinking about what's one time of day or situation where urges for food come up. So maybe that's after you finish a meal, or every time after you finish a meal, you just want something sweet, or you go back to the cabinet for another snack. Maybe it's every time you walk past the snack drawer at work. You see the snack drawer and you think, oh, I want a snack. Or maybe you drive past a cookie shop or McDonald's, and that triggers your brain to have an urge. So take a moment, again, writing in the chat or to yourself, of this time of day or situation, because when we are aware of it, then we can expect them to come up and stop being surprised around them. So I have at the bottom there that urges are an opportunity to change your brain. It's not something to be scared of. We literally have to be triggered and make a different choice in order for the urges to be deconditioned and stop coming up. Just like I mentioned with the first one, where we have to have that specific moment in order to light up our neural network, we have to be triggered in order to change. We can't just hide in our room all day and hope that we stop binge eating. We have to feel that urge and take a different pathway than we normally take in order for our brain to change. All right, our fourth step is to start tuning into our hunger and fullness. So, this is how natural eaters eat. They just decide to eat when they're hungry, and then when they're done eating, they stop when they're full. And that's how they guide every eating decision. Now, our hunger and fullness is actually our most accurate calorie counter we could ever have because it's totally unique, personalized, and customized to us. No personal trainer or app or website can ever know exactly what you need better than your own body. And it ensures that you're feeling your absolute best. So if we are eating too little, we're not going to feel great. And also, if we're eating too much, we're not going to feel great. So by tuning into our hunger and fullness, we're going to give our body exactly what we need. So for this, the tool I want you to implement is to turn off distractions when you are eating. I know this might be difficult for us, and that is okay because this is what our society has taught us is to be go, 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 do, do, do all day long. Okay, but your hunger and fullness cues are present in your body. Now, they might be a little dull right now since you've spent many years tuning them out, stuffing them down, ignoring what they say. So you're going to need to be extra present with what your cues are saying. And that's really difficult to do when TikTok, a TV show, or work is pulling all of your attention outwards. We have to go inwards into our body to notice this. Your signals are in you. No matter how long you've been struggling with this, they're still in you. We just have to spend the time paying attention to them and noticing them. So our fifth step is to create confidence no matter what size you are. No matter where you are right now, what we know for sure is that fear and shame are really bad long-term motivators. They might spark us into action in the beginning of saying, we speak really mean to ourselves. You horrible fat person, you need to lose weight. I can't believe you let yourself go like this. And we think that's going to be helpful. But in the long term, it only makes us feel more hopeless and more bad about ourselves. Now, even if you were to change from that place of fear and shame, you're going to constantly live in this fear of going back to your old place, and it feels hard to maintain. This is what happened to me the first time I lost weight through dieting. Is I did it, but I was trying so hard and I was hating myself so much throughout the process. I was so scared of what happens if I gain weight. And then the second I gained 1 pound, all was loose. I gave up. I thought, it's not working. I don't even like myself. Who cares if I gain weight? Screw it. All of those thoughts, because I wasn't really coming from a place of love for myself in the first place. And we care about things. We want to care for things that we love. Think about your family members or a pet that you have. You want to go out of your way to do something nice for them when you love them. You want to buy your pet the nice little treats and the fun toys, and buy your husband or partner something amazing because you love them. Now think about that coworker or person that you really don't like so much. You're not going to go out of your way to do something nice for them. You're going to try to avoid them and not hang out with them. And that's how it is with ourselves too. So once we can start repairing this relationship with ourselves and our body, that's when we actually are doing better with our eating habits, because we don't want to hurt our body. Overeating hurts our body. And so when we can say, you know what, I care about myself, I want to feel amazing, that's when we actually start making healthy food decisions. So for this, I want you to write down one kind thing about yourself. Because the more you respect yourself now, the more likely you are to give yourself nourishing your food, honoring your hunger and fullness signal, and encouraging yourself through the urges. And it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be, I love everything about me. It could just be, I'm proud of you for showing up to this workshop. That's the win. Proud of you for making time for yourself. So our last pillar is we need to maintain our progress. So anything we do, we want to make sure it lasts right. And not just for the next few days, but for the next few years. So in order to maintain our progress, we need to get out of these yo-yo results, the yo-yo dieting, the yo-yo actions, stopping our self-sabotage, and really creating habits for life. If you're doing something right now that you don't see yourself doing for the next 10, 20, 30 years, it's not sustainable. So some people think, okay, I'm just going to calorie count a little bit longer until I get down to my goal weight. I'm just going to go on Ozempic for a little bit until I get down to my weight. But if you create results that aren't sustainable, then they're not going to stay maintainable. So how we do this is we need to start by shifting our identity. Shifting our identity is going from someone who thinks, I'm a binge eater, I struggle with food, to I'm a natural, confident eater. And this is something that will start to come after you start seeing yourself making these little changes. We start to believe it's possible for us because we start building evidence. Now, the truth is, changing your brain takes time. It is not something that happens overnight when we've struggled with these things for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So if you are ready to take your learning to the next level, I would love to invite you into my Confident Eater program. And I'm going to give you some information about the Confident Eater group that is open for a limited time right now. Now, this is the program that is going to give you everything you need to be successful. So you've gotten some awesome tips today that I do really want you to focus on implementing. They are great tips, and I know you can make so many changes with them. And if you're ready to rewire your brain to stop binge eating and overeating permanently, this is the place we're going to do it. Now, the group does close Tuesday, the 19th, so about a week and a half from now. We're going to go over a few details of what's included, but I'm going to put the link to a consultation call with me in the chat so you have that there. Now, this group is going to be for you if you're binge eating, overeating, or both. Like I mentioned, sometimes we can fall in this gray area where, like, some days we're truly binge eating, some days we're truly overeating. This program is for you if you're eating more food than you want to. If you don't have your dream eating habits right now, that is what we're working on creating. If you're struggling to eat foods in moderation, the holidays are here. We just had Halloween. We have, here in the US, Thanksgiving approaching, all the other holidays in December, the New Year. And I want you to make sure you have tools to have these foods in moderation. Otherwise, the holidays can be so stressful, and they're already so stressful with all the pressures that are there. If you're dealing with strong urges to eat, so if you feel like you get this urge, this craving for food that you just can't sit with, it just takes over you. I used to describe it as like an out of body experience. I felt like I was a ghost out of my body where I was just eating the food and I didn't know how to stop. If you want this permanent psychological approach, we are addressing the brain from the inside out. And if you want loving hands-on support. Now, what's really nice about my groups is that they're small. So I only have 10 spots max open and we already have a few people in it. So what's really nice is that you're not gonna get lost in a sea of hundreds of people like some of these giant memberships. You're gonna get to talk to me personally. I answer all the questions personally. You're not talking to another coach. I'm the one who's supporting you and you're not going to get lost in the crowd. I know where you are, so I can keep you accountable too. So this is a member who just finished up in the program, the last round of it, Rula. And she said that she had so much funness for everyone in this group. And because this is such a small, tight-knit group, we really get to know each other personally. Now, if being in a group feels a little scary for you, I get that. We don't always talk about these issues out in the public, in the open all the time. But this is really a group that is 100% private, and everyone's in your shoes too. Now, Rula had done other programs before. She had actually worked with other therapists, other binge eating coaches before. But she said they helped with the restriction in the binge eating. Like I said, they'll tell you to eat more food and add it back in. And that can help with restriction binge eating, but they never really dealt with the urges, the habits, and changing the neural pathways like we do here. Now, this group is not going to be for you, though, if you're wanting a strict meal plan. So if you want me to tell you, you need to eat 1 cup of rice and 6 ounces of chicken and a cup of broccoli for this meal, and then this meal is going to be this. This is not the program for you. I don't do meal plans. I don't really do a ton of nutritional advice. You're going to learn the basics of it. But most people, again, they kind of already know, like most of us know what's healthy for us, right? We know we should be eating more whole foods, fruits and vegetables, protein. That's all we really need to know. So if you're wanting a strict meal plan or specific dietary recommendations, not for you. If you've been diagnosed with anorexia or bulimia and currently struggling with it, this program is not going to be for you. And if you've ever been hospitalized for an eating disorder, also not for you. Now, what is all included? The fun stuff of what you get in this program. So this program is 6 months long. So you're getting this life-changing psychology-based support. We have 50-minute weekly video calls. So these calls are on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Now, if you cannot make the calls, that is not a problem. All of the calls are recorded, and you'll have access to all the recordings at any time that you want to watch them on the go. Um, and they're all contained within our Confident Eater course. So I'll talk more about the course, but again, if you can't make the calls, not a problem. I'll show you April's story in a minute, and April was also on my podcast, so you can listen to her story. She was a teacher who couldn't make any of the calls live. She made like 1 or 2, but she still made amazing progress. And that's because you also have access to this Confident Eater course, which is going to be the in-depth lessons and worksheets that you need in order to change your eating habits to permanently become a confident eater. So you get access to all 6 of these pillars with in-depth lessons on each of them available to you at any time. Our course also has an app, which is really fun. So if you'd like listening to things podcast style, you can listen to them on the go. And then you also have unlimited written coaching. So we have a private Facebook community that is only for the group members. If you are in my bigger Facebook community, is completely separate from that. And the coaching is seriously unlimited. So if you want to write for support every single day in there, I check it every single morning, usually twice a day, and give you really in-depth coaching. I don't just give you, 2 words of advice. I really go deeper with you and make sure that we're getting the coaching within that group too. Of course, that community of like-minded women that are in your shoes growing with you. And then you're also going to get accountability through a progress tracker. So this is what your progress tracker is going to look like. This is an example of a past client, Lola, who worked with me in her progress tracker. And this has allowed me to implement a full money back guarantee. So how the money back guarantee works is each month you're going to fill out this progress tracker and rank how you're doing in all of these key pillars. You're moderating all foods, managing urges, listening to hunger, fullness, confidence. And what the money back guarantee ensures is that you're going to improve in every single category, because I've never had anyone go backwards. I've never had anyone stay the same. Everyone improves to some degree, depending on where you're at with your current eating habits. We're going to get you to where you want to go. And you can see here, this blue line is her times a week binge eating. So that's the one we want to go down. And what I always love about our progress trackers is every single one is not linear. And that's how all progress is. So I want you to just see this too, to see like, the people who end up at a 10 in every area that feel 100% confident in their ability to moderate all foods, manage their urges, listen to hunger and fullness and their confidence, even though she ended at a 10 in every area. We have ups and downs in our journey, in any journey, and same things with her times of week binge eating, but she ended up feeling really good, not binge eating at all. So I also have some special bonuses going on with this group. So the first bonus you're going to get is private coaching with me. So at months 2 and months 4, you're going to get an individual private acceleration call with me. This is to help you troubleshoot anything that you are having trouble with, and you maybe want to talk to me a bit more personally. So I release my schedule for 2 weeks. You just pick whatever time is convenient with you within those 2 weeks. And we go on that call and we really get you out unstuck, especially at months like I chose months 2 and 4 too, because at the beginning of the program, everyone is so excited. You're starting a new thing. And then by months 2, you're like, I'm kind of had this, maybe I had this slip up. Maybe I'm not believing in myself. And then we get you back right on track so you can keep making progress forward. You're also going to get a daily eating hypnosis audio. So this audio will help you rewire your brain effortlessly, and it's just 5 minutes. So it uses the latest science-backed suggestions, and this eliminates the problem of like, oh, I just forgot about my eating goal today, right? Like I forgot I was even trying to not overeat. So that's really nice, and it's like your daily way to focus on what you want. So this is April, who I was mentioning. Amber came into my life when I didn't know what to do. I was at my wit's end, getting into such bad eating habits, overeating, binging on seats, eating in secret. She took the plunge, joined the group, and she was so glad she did. She said, I was with you guys every step of the way. She's feeling more confident and normal around food than she has in years. And really, she was believing in herself once again. And once you believe in yourself again, that is really when you can start going to do this on your own. Because when you believe in yourself, you know that no matter what happens in life, no matter what circumstance happens, whatever goes on, that you know how to take care of yourself and you know how to get back up no matter what. So another bonus you're going to get is a navigating holidays module and worksheet. So as the holidays are approaching, you're going to get a full lesson to help you eliminate holiday overeating so you can start the new year strong with your dream eating habits already in place. This is always my biggest group and my biggest time where the most people join my programs, because the holidays are hard. They're difficult. There's a lot of new situations coming up, travel, family stressors, buying gift stressors, and all the different food and situations around. So this is going to teach you how to get through the holidays without overeating. And you might choose to intentionally overeat at times. Like I sometimes decide these cookies are really freaking good and I want to have 2 of them, but it's intentional now. So I'm going to teach you when to intentionally choose to overeat and when do you want to choose to sit with those urges and not eat so you can feel your best. And then the final bonus you're going to get is my sleep protocol. So if you're someone who has trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, I have this sleep protocol that's going to help you with sleeping, because it's so important for our eating habits. If we don't have good sleep, we're not able to manage our urges so well. We're not able to access our higher brain as well. So it's really important to have that sleep protocol to help you. Now, Ginger is another client who went through the program, and she was able to conquer her binge food of peanut butter. So originally, when she first came into the program, she was eating a third of a jar of peanut butter every time she'd have it in her house. She really struggled with bringing it in and not eating it all. So with my signature trigger food process and the things she learned in the program, she was able to get down where she could have peanut butter in the house, feeling confident around it, and she was able to have just 1 teaspoon, a teaspoon. And so she felt really satisfied with that. We walked through with her, we did a lot of visualization of walking through the process of, we're going to visualize yourself having that teaspoon, because that helps give your brain a blueprint of what to do ahead of time. So the group is closing in just 12 days. Again, Tuesday the 19th. So what you do from here, if you're interested in joining, first is you book your consultation. So I'm going to put a link in the chat again for the consultation. And on this consultation, we're going to chat about how we can rewire your eating habits. So I'm going to have you talk about your goals, where you've been, and we'll kind of discuss if the program is a right fit for you based on where you are and where you want to go. And then after that, I send you a link to join the group, and then you can join the group and become a confident eater. Now, when you join the group, you get instant access to the entire course. So that's a really nice incentive. The sooner you can join, the better. And I do occasionally fill up. So once the 10 spots are gone, they're gone. But the sooner you get in, the sooner you get access to all these lessons and you can start watching them right away. One other thing I forgot to mention is on the calls itself, we use those calls all for coaching. So that's your time to get personalized support from me and get all of your questions answered from the experts. Now, in between our calls, you're going to be watching these video lessons from the course, but I am not giving you a lot of homework. I really distilled it down to the absolute essential knowledge you need. I recently redesigned the whole course to make it as simple and effective as possible. So you only really need like 50 minutes for the group call to either come live or watch the replay, and then like 10 to 15 minutes to do the lesson. So you're not getting hours of homework a day. You're just getting the essential knowledge and coaching that you need. So now we'll go if you have any questions, either about the group or about what we talked about today and how you can implement it in your own life to help you with the 6 essential steps to stop binge eating. I'll go over a common question I get, which is, how is this different than something else maybe I've tried before? And truly, this program is addressing your mindset in a way that I haven't seen any other coaches do. My program I created because I did so many different programs and therapy and approaches myself, and I took the best of each of them and combined it into this program. And then I have that full money back guarantee because I know sometimes it can be scary taking the leap to do something new. But if something hasn't worked in the past, if you're feeling hopeless because you've tried so many things, know that you haven't tried it all yet, and I don't want you to give up now. Usually, we are feeling the most frustrated when we are the closest to success because we've been trying, we've been trying, we've been trying, and we're so close, but we still have to try a little bit further to get over that last hump. And so I never want anyone to give up right when they're on the brink of food freedom. And I always tell everyone in my program that the only way it won't work out is if you give up. If you are committed and you decide that this goal is important to you, you can 100% become a natural eater. I used to think that I was just going to be binge eating forever and ever, and I would just have to manage it and hopefully not gain too much weight, and that was just going to be my life. But once you start to make little changes here and there, you'll start to realize and build your confidence that you can do it. And again, once you start having that success, you'll realize that anything is possible for you, and then you continue to have that success. You're welcome. Thanks for coming. All right, well, I'll let you guys go then. Thank you for joining today. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know how the 6 essential steps go for you. If you have any questions on implementing them, feel free to message me. My Instagram's there, my email's there, my podcast is there. And you can also send me a personal email if you have any questions about the program. Otherwise, I'll put the link in the chat one more time for a consultation call with me. You'll also find it, you'll get an email with the replay from today. The replay will only be available for a limited time. I think it's 5 days. It expires on Tuesday night. So if you want to rewatch the replay, make sure you do it before then. Otherwise, I'd love to talk to you later and have you join the group. But have a great rest of your Thursday. Bye.